So I think it's safe to say that by now we've all seen the WWE 2K22 little teaser trailer. I'm not really sure what they're calling it, but all I know is that it's supposed to be a really good fucking game. I'm not gonna lie to you all, I was actually very impressed with the overall trailer, and there's a couple of things I want to touch on as I continue to talk about it throughout the course of this video. First and foremost, I'm actually still worried that they're gonna once again delay the fucking game, because apparently WWE wants to continue to release superstars as, you know, this game's in development. And that's a whole nother story for a whole different time, but obviously we're all still kind of questioning what the overall roster is going to look like. I've gone on record and I have said that at this point they might as well just fill the fucking game with legends, because that's the only way that this roster is going to be supplemented. Because let's be honest, every single roster since like 2K16 has been pretty stellar in terms of legends and current superstars. There's been a fine mix of both that you can unlock through doing showcase modes, and then the VC system that was implemented in 2K17. You know, there's a wide array of superstars that you can purchase in-game or unlock and choose from, and it's nice. It's really nice to see. But I'm still really worried about the overall roster and what it's eventually going to look like, because naturally, for people like me that make content on the game, we kind of rely on it to be consistent with how good the roster is going to be. So 2K finally revealed this trailer, and it seems as though it looks pretty fucking good. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the game looks gorgeous. It's a massive upgrade from 2K20, thank God, because in my opinion 2K20 was a graphical downgrade in the series, considering, I'm not even sure considering anything. I just think the game was rushed and it looked like shit, and I think that we got a shit game as a result. But I think this game's going to be pretty fucking solid, and for a couple of reasons. One, let's talk about the redesigned gameplay engine. Now, I don't know what the fuck this is going to mean. I hope it's what I've been asking for and what I've been preaching about, which is kind of a mixture of the old school WWE games from the late 2000s into the early 2010s, with the arcadey aspect of it, with some of the simulation features that the new school games have been offering over the course of the last 4 or 5 years or so now. So I really hope that when they say redesigned game engine, I just hope that it's a nice mixture of arcade and simulation, which is what I think the AEW game is going to be when that eventually drops, which who the fuck knows when that's going to be at this point. But all I can talk about, and they don't really show too much, they just show Kofi Kingston and beating down on somebody, who's Jeff Hardy in this video as I'm watching it as we go along, and it looks fluid. It doesn't look robotic at all, which is kind of nice, but this is a trailer after all, not the legitimate thing, so I'll have to take everything I see in this video with a grain of salt, as you should as well. In addition to that, let's talk about the controls, which is the one thing on Twitter everybody's been up in arms about since this thing has dropped. And let me put a photo in front here for all of you guys to take a look at as we talk about this video. And I have a photo here as well for my own reference. What the fuck is this shit? What in the fuck is this shit? I asked, and not just me, most of the community, I would think, asked for controls that weren't convoluted. What we got just might be a worse off control system than 2K20. So here's what we got. On the left side, more or less everything has stayed the same. But on the right side is where it gets incredibly fucking weird. So the way I know WWE games to be from the PlayStation 3 days and early in the PlayStation 4 Triangle button was finisher. The square button was heavier attacks. The X button, or was it light attacks? Either way, it was like punches and shit. One of those was punches, and then one of those was grapples. And then the circle button, or in this case the B button, was the pinfall button. Now, let's take a look here. First of all, the R1 button, or the RB, is dodge or climb. I'm not really sure what the fuck that's supposed to mean. As we can see, the triangle or Y button is still reversal, which is something I kind of touted that I actually enjoyed the change, so I'm not too upset about that. And then we have the, which is the same button by the way, the Y button is the hold for the block button. You have to hold it to block, which doesn't really make any sense. What happens when you hold the button for a second too long? Is it going to do something instead of doing what you wanted it to do? I don't fully understand what that's supposed to mean. I'd like to see that in action. And then you have the light attack button, which is the X or square. The heavy attack button, which is the A or X button, which I think those were kind of the same anyway. So that's not, I'm not too upset. But the circle or the B button is where it gets a little weird because it's not the pinfall, it's the grapple button, which usually one of the other two buttons I just mentioned was the grapple button. So I'm not sure what the fuck's going on there. And this is where it gets really fucking weird. The pinfall button is the R3, or the, it has to do something with, it has to do with that. So you have to either move the control stick or press it. I'm not really sure. I guess, actually, no, I'm wrong. Pressing it changes the target, but you have to move it down to pin? That doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Then there's the repositioning of an opponent, which I can see that being what it is. I'm not too opposed to it. I'd have to see that in action. But then once you get to the bottom left corner, they got the R2 or RT plus a button for a finisher, a different button for a signature, in addition to the R2 RT button. Then the payback button, which is something I never fucking understood because I had to like literally pause the game ever so often to even figure out what the paybacks were, how to use them. And then even weirder, they have to make you press two buttons to do a submission. So, what the fuck? I'm not sure what the fuck any of that actually means. I really don't. It's so convoluted, man. Like, what the fuck am I looking at? I don't even know, man. I gotta see this shit in action. I have to play this in action to even understand what the fuck I'm even saying. Because I don't think any of the people in the community even understand where we're getting at here with these controls. A lot of people are upset. I'm one of them. I expressed my displeasure of it on social media, as many of us did. It just doesn't make any fucking sense, man. It really doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But as we move on here throughout the course of this trailer, we got a couple other things that they were talking about as I'm watching it here on my phone as I'm talking to you guys. The 2K showcase this year is Rey Mysterio, which is cool because I would like to see what type of new arenas that we're going to get for Rey Mysterio, because they have to include his WCW days, right? Right? I would hope they do, anyway. But in addition to that, I mean, I like Showcase. I never not completed a Showcase mode until 2K20, because 2K20 is absolutely miserable to try and play in certain cases. So it sucks because I never finished it, but I ended up unlocking everything because I had the accelerator anyway. So I didn't have to do a fucking thing regardless. And then this is the thing everybody's happy about, which I have to get my hands on to even understand. I'm not going to lie, when I started playing WWE games, GM mode was no longer a thing anymore. So I never really went out of my way to research what GM mode actually was. And judging by what I've seen, I'm not going to say I'm not impressed. I'm just confused as to what it actually does. I know you buy superstars to put on a roster. That much I do know. But after that point, do you play matches? Do you do stuff like that? Is it like commander mode in Battlefield, where it's like you're the commander of something and you control everything going on the battlefield? Where people should go, what streaks to put on there. And that's what it kind of feels like to me. It feels like a commander mode in Battlefield, but I don't know. I could just be comparing two completely different things to each other, but that's the only thing that's making me think about right now. And to be honest with you, being the commander's not really all that fun anyway, that I've experienced. So I'd like to see how... I'd like to practice GM mode to see what it's all about and what this hype is all about. My faction is another thing that they touched on. Don't know what the fuck that's about. I prefer factions that are already in the game, but judging by the fact that they just released a shit ton of people, I can see why that this is even included in the game, because you can create factions that are hopefully juggernauts? I don't know. I mean, now that the Undisputed Era is no longer in the game, it's just kind of weird. And then you can always recreate other factions, but it's still going to be a little bit weird considering WWE had some pretty solid ones over the course of the last 10 years or so, and they just kept breaking them up over and over again. So, yeah, it just kind of sucks. And, of course, we have the My Career, which is the My Rise, is what they're calling it now. So that, I never really fucked with My Career that much, so that I don't really care about that. Universe mode is what's going to be my bread and butter. I really hope they changed it up a bit, because Universe mode has been severely lacking for me, especially last game, considering, you know, I have over 100 superstars at any given time at my disposal that I've put on the show, made divisions for, made tag teams for, and yet for some reason every single week I have to play the same like 15 to 20 superstars all the time, which is kind of fucking lame. Give me something new. So I really hope that the matchmaking system has severely changed, because I'm kind of sick of how everything is kind of going with this universe mode that they had last year. The creation suite is also something that I'm kind of confused about, because they have 4 different styles to choose from. They have the striker, they have the technician, they have the powerhouse, and then they have the high flyer. So does this mean standard creation suite is kind of just gone? You can't just make a superstar, you have to have it tailored to something like this? Because the thing is this, when I make Matt Awesome, it's a combination of different styles. He's not just a striker, he's not just a powerhouse guy, he's not just somewhat of a technician. He's definitely too big to be a high flyer, so I never ever consider him to put any sort of attributes that attest to being a high flyer, so there's no point. But it feels to me that they're putting creation suite and they're making you have to force your superstar, whoever, whatever that may be, and put them in a box. So I'm not super pleased about that. I really hope that's something that doesn't affect the overall creation of superstars and movesets, that you have to stick to certain things in there, because I kind of just like creating shit freely. But I don't know. I gotta see. A lot of this stuff is kind of stuff I have to see in practice to understand, and not rely on a minute and a 40-second trailer to explain everything to me. You know what I mean? I just kind of think... No, I shouldn't say that. I want to believe that this game is going to be good. I really want this game to be good. But at the same time, it really would suck if this game turned out to be an absolute flop like 2K20 was. Does this mean, for fans of wrestling who like wrestling games, what games do we move on to? The AEW game we've heard absolutely nothing about for quite a long time. There's still Fire Pro Wrestling out there, but maybe some people may not enjoy that type of game that it is. Who knows? I haven't tried it out. I'd like to. I think it looks pretty unique, and it looks like something I want to try. There's Retromania Wrestling, which is more arcadey-like. There's just a whole bunch of stuff that's out there, but at the same time, WWE games, it's where it's at for a lot of people, including myself. That's where my love for wrestling games came from. So if they can't do something, or if they can't develop something that's going to make me enjoy my player experience, what am I going to do? Because EBCW, which I may rebrand, I'm still considering, I may rebrand that a little bit, is one of the bread and butter series on my channel. It's a series that I find to be the most fun to make, and it's super easy for me to make because all I have to do is record like 3 or 4 matches and upload them on Friday. It's nothing to it. So if this game sucks, what's going to happen for content on my channel? I don't know. I just don't know at this point. It really worries me. It kind of makes me sad if I think about it too much, but at the same time, I still have some faith in 2K and their development guys on this game because it looks good. It looks really promising. As I said, I just need to see how everything looks together. I need to experience it all in one. And I really hate to say it, but I might just have to purchase this fucking game blind. I did that with 2K20, and look where that got me. Almost a year and a half of misery. But this game may be different. But there's a lot of factors I'm not a fan of. The controls are one, and the creation suite is kind of leaving me scratching my head a bit. So I really hope that when they bring more news in January, which is what they were supposed to do anyway before this trailer dropped, I just hope that they give us more information. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much all I have to talk about on today's video. I really hope you enjoyed that. I really hope you enjoyed the match that was going on in the background for the EBCW Championship between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Brock Lesnar. I think this was 2K18, going back on some of the matches I was doing there a while back ago. But anyway, follow me on all the social media stuff you see down in the description below. And of course, you can always support me and Eric on the 69 Whiskey Podcast on a multitude of different platforms. We greatly appreciate the support you've given us so far. And with that being said, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I really hope this next WWE game is going to be good. Because I'm getting worried, folks. I'm getting a little bit worried the more I think about it.